transition, but I'm watching and.
Well, are you talking to the president-elect? Is the question.
I'm watching the transition. I'm not active, and I don't want to really talk about who I'm speaking to, but I'm aware of what's going on.
I don't want to. That's Paul Manafort, the Trump campaign chairman in the 2016 presidential campaign. Even though Manafort was fired as Trump's campaign chair in the summer of 2016, we now know he was quite active in the Trump transition after Trump was elected in November. Manafort was at least active in the transition in the sense that he was running a bribery scheme to sell interviews in consideration for top high-ranking positions in the federal government in exchange for millions of dollars to be paid to himself. Paul Manafort, of course, was convicted on multiple tax and bank fraud felonies. Convicted by a jury on some counts, he pled guilty to other counts. As of today, we can add another name to the list of convicted Trump campaign officials. Today, Stephen Kalk was convicted for giving Paul Manafort $16 million in questionable bank loans in 2016 and 2017. After Kalk's first multi-million-dollar loan to Manafort, Manafort put him on the Trump campaign's Economic Advisory Council. The second Manafort loan application looked dead at Kalk's bank until all of a sudden it looked like Trump might win the election on election night, at which point Stephen Kalk revived that second loan application, shoveled the millions of dollars to Manafort, and then sent Manafort a list of Trump administration jobs he wanted to be considered for, starting with Secretary of the United States Army. You get that by giving Paul Manafort money? Prosecutors said Stephen Kalk repeatedly ignored financial red flags in Manafort's loan applications because he desperately wanted to be Secretary of the Army and thought that's how he could get it. In the end, Kalk did give Manafort the money, but he didn't get the job. He did get an interview for it, so maybe it wasn't a complete waste. It very much helped prosecutors that Stephen Kalk put all of his desired jobs in writing. In an email to Manafort during the transition, he listed in ranked order his favored, quote, prospective roles in the new administration. His number one choice was Secretary of the Army. If not that, he'd take, Secretary of Commerce, Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, 18 preferred ambassadorships, everything from the UK to the Vatican to Singapore. The jury today deliberated for less than 2 hours before delivering their guilty verdict. I should note that Stephen Kalk's lawyer closed his argument with an unusual defense. He said, quote, what really matters to Donald Trump is how you do on TV. And Mr. Kalk did well on TV. It's not like the Trump cabinet was full of all these, government, longtime government people. In other words, it was plausible. Stephen Kalk was convicted on both counts he faced, financial institution bribery and conspiracy to commit financial institution bribery. Paul Manafort, of course, is his unnamed co-conspirator. Manafort pled guilty to multiple crimes related to these interactions with Stephen Kalk, but of course then he was pardoned by Trump before Trump left office. Stephen Kalk now faces a prospective maximum prison sentence of up to 30 years. For taking part in a bribery scheme in which applicants were clearly considered for the highest Trump administration posts, including military and national security posts, in exchange for millions of dollars in cash. The grift headlines will never stop, will they?